Hey folks, welcome back to Deer Corner. Glad to see you, glad to be here. Sitting up here on my favorite place when I'm up at the cabin, on the porch, looking out. But it's been a beautiful day today. But all the trees, like I said earlier, 2 weeks ago, I seen my last sunrise coming over the mountain. Trees now are blossom, bloom, got leaves on it. Here another week, I won't see the sun unless it's directly on top. But all in all, it's a nice day. 68 degrees, nice little breeze. Always have a breeze up here. But a lot of things to do, get done. But I'm going to sit here, drink my coffee, and relax on the front porch. One thing that came up, and I'll bring up to you, is yes, I carry. I do carry a handgun with me when I'm in the woods. I carry a 38. I like a 38. I like a revolver. And a revolver is very, very dependable. Very dependable. And a revolver fits my hand. That is one thing that I look at, and I see a whole lot of out there on the YouTubes. A semi-automatic does not fit my hand. And there are people that come up here and shoot. I got one gentleman that comes up here and shoots a lot. He shoots a semi-automatic, and that gun does not fit his hand at all. And very seldom will you find a semi-automatic that fits somebody's hand. And I've watched a whole lot of YouTubes on this, and I have yet found a YouTube that talks about the 2.5, 3 second. And a lot of people don't understand the difference. So let me kind of give you a few examples of what I'm talking about. And this is how I've grown up and what I've learned throughout the years. And I'm in my mid-60s now, and about time to pass it on. But one of the things are, this is a handgun. This is a firearm. It's a 38. Why did I choose a 38? It has knockdown power. It does shoot a nice chunk of lead. And I can handle it with one hand. But it is a firearm. Now, a lot of people don't understand this does not become a weapon until I have to use it in a defense mode. The same thing as a golf club, a baseball bat, a knife. They all become weapons. But if you're out practice shooting and this or that, it is a firearm. So I want to clarify that. It is not a weapon until you need it. Now, I don't disagree on how people shoot. I don't interrupt. I don't intervene on how people shoot. But I see a whole lot of mistakes where people don't understand the difference between defense and shooting a firearm. And the 2.5, 3 second rule. So I'm going to try to show a little light on that and where I'm coming from. If I'm walking, well, people that are learning how to shoot, people that are learning how to shoot a firearm, it is great that they are being taught. It is great to get their stance down. It is great that they learn how a firearm works, which end to point, bring the other hand up, aim, hold it steady, and fire. Now that is great to teach someone how to shoot a firearm. Now I'm saying shooting a firearm. And target shooting, sports shooting, shooting a firearm. Make sure your stance, bring your hand up, double hand, and fire. Aim and fire. But in defense mode, now this has happened more than once. I've walked out here in the woods, and fortunately I walked out and I seen a cub. And I seen that cub at a distance. And I stopped and I let that cub go its own way. And usually, they'll follow their mother. Now, it can happen. I've been fortunate. I have not walked up on a cub and scared a cub and chased it up a tree. I have not done that yet, fortunately. Because if I have done that, where's the mom? And if that mom is out there, and which she will do, she will come at you. Now, do I sit there and say, hey, wait a minute, Mom? Wait a minute. Get my stance out? Wait a minute, Mom. Get my stance. Get my two hands up. Aim. Okay, come, Mom. And shoot? I won't have that time. That 2.5, 3 second ruling on how to shoot like that can get your arms chewed off, believe me. Because she's not going to wait for you to get all that done, to get a shot out. Several agencies, I'm not going to say who, rely on teaching that type of shooting of a firearm. But they do not want to teach you the shooting of defense. And that is where you can take the firearm, pull it from the holster, pull, shoot, and hit the target. Pull, shoot, and hit the target. Basically, without aiming, being able to hit a target at 20 yards. And they do not want to teach that type of shooting for the simple reason they want that edge. And it's called controlled shooting. That gun, for one, has to fit your hand. Not feel good, fit your hand. And explaining that, now, as I said earlier, a gun that fits your hand is different than a gun that fits your hand. You can have a gun that fits your hand very comfortable. It fits real good. But the gun actually don't fit your hand for shooting. Just because it's comfortable, just because it feels good, doesn't mean it's correct. And one of the things that was showed to me by a man named Henshin, which is a gunsmith up in Wisconsin that I met 20 years ago or so. And he altered this gun here to fit my hand. And what he showed me made a lot of sense. And that is hand and mind control, where you point your finger. You are actually pointing dead on your target that you're pointing your finger at. And he said it's kind of like eating steak. You cut your steak, you stick your fork in it, you can look straight up, close your eyes, and still put that steak in your mouth and not stick it in your ear, because you have hand-mind control. So your finger, as you're growing up through the years, where you point your finger is actually pointing dead on the target. So you have to have your firearm, your handgun, altered to fit your hand, so that when you control and you point your finger, they should be parallel. Your finger pointing should be parallel with the end of the muzzle. Therefore, when you are shooting your firearm, your end of your muzzle is the tip of your finger where it is pointing at. Now this, he altered the grip on this one. Had it shaved back because it was bigger in the bulkler, and what was happening, it was kicking out like this. If you could see where my finger is pointing, it's pointing down, not along the muzzle of the gun. After it was altered, and he would alter it as he was going, ended up my finger is parallel with the barrel of the gun. Now, it takes two people to do this, believe it or not. You pick up your handgun, or if you're purchasing a handgun, pick it up, comfortable, point your finger, look away from it. Don't look at the gun, don't look at your finger, look away, and have somebody take a picture. Pull your finger back, do it again, and have somebody take the picture. And do it again, and you're going to find out, do about 2 or 3 pictures. And he used, back then it was a Kodak Instamatic camera, but the pictures were showing that my finger was pointing like this. So he had to alter the butt of the gun in order to bring it up, such as this. And you have to have 2 people really to do it correctly. So you pick your handgun up, get it comfortable, then point your finger, but look away and have somebody take a picture of it and show which direction your finger is pointing. And you do alter the butt of your gun. You can buy butts, you can alter them, you can take the one you got or purchase them, but one of the reasons this is because a lot of your handguns were made in the early 1900s. I mean, your Colts, your Smith & Wessons, and even your model 1911 semi-automatic. The frames were developed in the early 1900s, and the gun manufacturers did not change the frames of the guns throughout the years. Still today, the frames are still manufactured the same way as they were back then. But throughout 60 years or more, the males especially got larger. We ended up with bigger hands. We're taller. We're heavier than what they were 60, 70 years ago when they were manufacturing the firearms. So our hands got bigger, which made the grip smaller, which ends up you're gripping the gun and you end up pointing down because the grip's too small or too large. But yeah, to actually get the grip and get the gun to actually fit your hand, your finger has to run parallel with the barrel, because what happens when you're shooting, you want this end of your muzzle to be pointing just like you're pointing your finger, and that's how you become accurate on a quicker draw. I could explain that further on, but explaining that, even though a gun feels good in your hand, it don't fit your hand. So to be able to pull and shoot and hit your target at 20 yards takes a little practice, but it isn't that hard. Now, some of your best shooters on this, actually the top of the line, are the Secret Service that guard the president. Because they can sit there, have their gun drawn, and their hand on the president. But where that gun is going to point, it's going to hit its target. But if you ever noticed them, they will be pushing with one hand, have their gun drawn on another. They're not sitting there with 2 hands. They're doing this. They have their controlled shooting down. So, understanding the difference of controlled shooting takes a little time, a little practice. But you have to have a firearm that you can maintain with one hand. You don't need a cannon. North America, a .22 will kill any animal in North America. If that's what it is, that's what it is. But to clarify that is something that I don't see too much on YouTube. I see a whole lot of the 2.5, 3 second shooting, which I'm fine with, to teach someone how to shoot a firearm. But again, to be in self-defense mode is a whole different ball game. You need to be able to pull your firearm, which becomes a weapon, and shoot and hit the target. So I'm going to take a couple of shots. I do every once in a while. I take a couple of shots just to make sure I'm getting old. I'm getting slower, but just to show that I can still keep my target, hit my target. I'm not much into rapid firing. I'll always put my gun back down, stand around, and relax, take it easy. I don't shoot too many at one time, but let's go ahead and see if we can do this again. Now, that target's about 20 yards out. I'm shooting a 2.5 inch barrel, 38. So let's just see if we can do this again. Now, if you take a good for instance, I'm going to rely on, if I have to go in defense mode and use my handgun as a weapon, I'm going to rely on the other person doing the 2.5, 3 second ruling. Now, as I've shown, I'm shooting a 3-inch plate at 20 yards. And I hate it. I don't like to think about it. A matter of fact, if someone came up and pulled a gun on me and was going to rob me and asked for my wallet, and even though the reason I carry my gun in my back belt is you're going to get robbed, they're going to ask you for your wallet. 90% of the people, males, carry their wallets in their back pocket. So, if you're going to get robbed and you're at gunpoint, he asks for your wallet, you're going to reach around, get your wallet out of your pants. You're not going to put your hand in your pocket, in a shoulder bag, and pull a gun out. You're going to get yourself shot. There again, if I am facing a firearm pointed at me, I'll give him my wallet. I will not pull a gun. But if he had a knife, or a club, well, it'll be a different story. You do not bring a knife or club to a gunfight. I'll reach for my wallet, but I'll pull my gun. And that's the difference. I will not pull a gun on a gun pulled on me already. I will handle my wallet. So that's defense mode. You have to look at it that way. And also, the way to learn to shoot and also controlled shooting, just like I shot 2 shots, I usually, that's it, 2, 3 shots, that's it, I put the gun away. I shoot that 3-inch steel disc, and you have to think about it. I'm slower than I used to be. But if it came down to it, I hate thinking of it this way, but I'm going against somebody who's going to do a 2.5, 3 second ruling. They're going to pull their gun. They're going to have their feet stance. That's the first thing I'm going to catch, how they position themselves. I already know that I'm on the 2.5, 3 second ruling. I'm going to pull and I'm going to shoot. I'm going to pop that gourd off the top of their shoulders. I'll pop that gourd before they get that second hand up to their firearm. So you have to understand the difference between shooting, target shooting, shooting a firearm, or using that firearm as a weapon. So it doesn't take long. I started practicing. Now how did I get that way? How did I get to shooting that way? Well, I actually started with a piece of plywood with a 3-inch circle drawn on it. And I would take the gun, pull up, and shoot. And then I would stop. I'd walk up, see where I shot. And when I shot that shot, I shot where I was comfortable. And I was shooting low. So I had to tune my mind with my body. The next time I pull, bring the gun up a little higher. And start getting that feeling. Because, see, if you could put a laser on the tip of your finger, and where you point your finger, that laser will hit that target everywhere you point. And to shoot that handgun, the handgun has to fit your hand in order to act like the tip of your finger. And once you get that down, you can pull and shoot and get the feeling of how to shoot to hit that target. And just a pull and shoot without aiming. And that is another thing that I like to bring up. I don't want to be rambling on. And that is rapid fire. That is a mistake I see a lot of people doing. I don't bring it up to them. And why? That's my advantage if I have to go against them. I have an advantage. And what that is, when you end up rapid firing, you end up with a push mode. And what I mean by a push mode, this gun's going to recoil up. So your mind is going to be going, wait a minute, I want to bring that down to get back on the target. Bring it. So you're going to start forcing that gun down before it's fired, the recoil, so you can come back on another round and aim it quicker at that target. So you're naturally going to end up pushing down on that gun. So your first and second shot's going to be off. You're not going to hit until you get rapid firing and get into that training. But that is a bad, because see, your first shot's the one that's going to count. The first one. If you get a second one. Because you got to remember, somebody might be shooting back at you that's better than you. So that first shot's got to be on target. So rapid firing a firearm isn't a good way practicing shooting a firearm. The best way is to shoot a shot and stop. Come back and shoot it again and stop. Don't get that habit of pushing for that recoil to come back on a second round. You've got to hit it on your first round. You may get a second round. But I like to show you a little bit about it, and I just wanted to bring it up. Like I say, I'm an old man. I've been doing a lot of shooting. I see a whole lot out here, but I just want to teach you right. And like I say, there's a lot of agencies out here. And what gets me on this is, and I don't mean to be rambling, I've spent 30 years on a police force, or I spent 20 years for the FBI, and it seems like it's all government agencies wanting to teach you how to do your stance, bring your hand up and stop, aim and fire. And that 2.5, 3 second shot. That in defense mode. If you got to go in defense mode, do The problem there is that 2.5, 3 second shot. I could get a shot out before you can get that hand up and shoot. And a lot of them, a lot of agencies plan on that 2.5, 3 second shot. They already know, they're planning on that if they have to do it. Now, I'm not blaming anybody, but yes, it is a fact. And something about that is shooting and rapid shooting. I see it on TV. Your police officers today go out, rapid shoot, they get the push on the gun. They shoot 6, 7 times and they shoot the man in the foot. Well, guess what? That police officer is looking at my better behalf. He's got my back, but he shoots 6, 7 times and shoots a man in the foot. I don't want to see him come up shooting at me. He won't get his 7 shots. But yes, controlled shooting, yes, there is such a thing. One of them is go on YouTube and watch some of these quick shooters. They don't aim the gun. They're controlled shooting, pull and shoot. And it's there, but you have to practice it. And that's the best way of defense shooting. Having to use a handgun or a rifle in defense mode, which becomes a weapon. It's a weapon at the time. But I just want to bring that up. It's just something that came across, and I'm glad you're with me. And go ahead and subscribe. And I hope to see you again sometime. And you all be safe out there.